All right, so think about this. The next time you tap your card to get on a bus, I want you to picture a date in your head. March 18th, 1662. Because the journey you're about to take, its story didn't start at the last bus stop. It actually began on the streets of Paris almost 400 years ago. And I know what you're probably thinking. A 17th century math whiz and your morning commute? I mean, we're talking about a time of kings and musketeers. What could that possibly have to do with getting to work on time? Well, the answer comes from a guy you definitely know, but probably not for this. So let's just set the scene for a second. It's the 1660s, and Paris is the center of the world. But getting around, it's a total nightmare. If you weren't super wealthy and owned a private horse-drawn carriage, well, your only option was to walk, everywhere. There were no set routes, no schedules, no system at all for the average person. See, travel wasn't a daily thing, it was a luxury. And one brilliant mind looked at this mess and thought, we can do better. And the person who came up with this solution, you might guess a city planner or some kind of royal engineer? Nope, he was a mathematician. That's right, Blaise Pascal. Yeah, that guy. The one from your high school math class, the one with the famous triangle and all that work on probability? Well, it turns out he was also a pretty incredible social innovator, and he applied that massive brain of his to a very human problem. How do you move a lot of people around a big city without it costing a fortune? And what's just wild is how modern his vision was. He didn't just want to throw some carriages out on the street. He wanted to create a system. We're talking affordable fares for regular people, fixed, predictable routes so you actually knew where you were going, a shared ride to keep the costs down for everybody, and this is the real game changer, a regular, scheduled service. These are literally the founding principles of every public transit system on Earth today. So this wasn't just some idea on paper. He made it happen. On March 18th, 1662, the world's very first public bus service launched. It was called Carrosses à cinq sous, which basically just means the 5 sous carriages. And they didn't start small either. It kicked off with a pretty ambitious network of 5 fixed routes that crisscrossed the entire city, connecting all the key landmarks. Each of these horse-drawn coaches was basically the original Uber pool. They were designed to be a shared ride, holding up to 8 passengers at a time. And this part just blows my mind. For the 17th century, the carriages ran on a schedule. During peak hours, you could expect one to show up about every 15 minutes. That kind of predictability was absolutely revolutionary. And the price for all this? Just 5 sous. Now, to be fair, that wasn't exactly pocket change. It was about a tenth of what a laborer might make in a day. But compared to the cost of a private carriage, it was a world of difference. It opened up city travel to a whole new class of people. You can see just how impressive this network was. The routes were connecting huge hubs like the Louvre, Notre Dame, and City Hall. This wasn't just some little gimmick. It was a genuinely useful system designed to link the places Parisians actually needed to go. And the people of Paris? They loved it. The service was an instant hit. Ridership shot up to over 2,000 passengers a day. For a little while, it seemed like Pascal's vision had perfectly, completely solved the problem. But of course, a story this good always has a but. So, if it was so great, how did it all fall apart? Well, despite being this huge success, the whole revolutionary system was gone in just over a decade. And the problem wasn't the tech or the logistics. Nope. The problem was society itself. The battle lines got drawn pretty clearly. On one side, you had regular citizens and merchants who loved the convenience. Even King Louis XIV was an early supporter. But on the other side, oh boy, you had powerful enemies, the nobility, the private coach operators who saw their business drying up, and even some religious figures who thought it just encouraged people to move around too much. And this quote right here, it just sums up the whole problem. The aristocracy was absolutely horrified by the idea of sharing a ride with commoners. To them, this system wasn't just a new way to get around. It was a threat to the entire social order. It blurred the lines between classes, and they could not stand for it. So it was a perfect storm of problems. The nobility got to the king, and he eventually restricted commoners from using it, which kind of defeated the whole purpose. The boycott from the wealthy tanked revenues, and at the same time, the costs of feeding the horses and fixing the coaches on Paris's terrible roads just kept going up. The whole system was squeezed from all sides until it finally collapsed in 1675. Now, it would be really easy to just write this off as a failure. But that's not the whole story. What if it wasn't a bad idea? What if it was just an idea that showed up way too early? Because that 13-year experiment left behind an incredible long-term legacy. This timeline really tells the tale. After the system died in 1675, the whole idea of public transit just vanished for over 150 years. But then, in 1826, a new service called the omnibus launched in another French city, and it was explicitly inspired by Pascal's original model. From there, the idea jumped to London, and by the 20th century, Pascal's core principles, fixed routes, shared rides, regular schedules, had become the blueprint for every single city bus system on the planet. And this comparison just puts it all into perspective. I mean, look at the progress. A fare in Pascal's day was about 10% of a day's wages. Today, in a city like Taipei, it's a tiny, tiny fraction of that. The wait time has gone from 15 minutes to maybe 5. Capacity has exploded, and the network has grown from just 5 routes to over 300. Pascal laid the foundation, and we've just been building on top of it ever since. So I guess that leaves us with one big question. Was this a story about a failed business that only lasted 13 years? Or is it the story of a massive success? An idea so powerful and so right that even after being crushed by the society of its time, it could just lie dormant for a century and a half before reemerging to literally change the world. It's something to think about the next time you're on your daily commute.